You're listening to Alcoholics Alive, where recovered members of Alcoholics Anonymous share their experience on how they live AA as a way of life. None of our participants get paid or speak for AA. Here are your hosts, Shank and Wayne. Shank, I just realized something recently. We now have I think it's 92 episodes of the pod. So
Okay.
for anyone out there that's into like 90 meetings in 90 days, we're gonna change that. It's gonna be 90 podcasts in 90 days. So yeah, why not?
Why not?
I think we should float that out to all of the treatment centers and to the entire fellowship that they can just tell people now, 90 podcasts in 90 days.
Yes!
Love it.
You can stay sober forever. Oh my goodness. Little humor there. Thanks for joining us. We've got a great guest this week. She's a repeat guest. She's been on once before. She did Tradition 8 for us. It's been a while back, but it was an excellent episode. If you were there or listened to that, you would know her as Carrie the Rapper with she sang a song that she actually wrote and produced called Drop the Rock. It was an excellent performance. So anyway, Carrie, how are you?
Good. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Yes, it's good to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic for sure. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I was a practicing alcoholic, believe it or not, for many years, and that wasn't fun. So I decided to come into Alcoholics Anonymous to recover from that seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And after a little bit of, I had to catch on. I came in and you guys weren't doing things right. I didn't know how anybody could stay sober in an outfit like this with, the book was outdated, the meetings needed upgraded, and y'all started to act right. And thank goodness I was here to help you. And for some reason, the program of As Carrie Sees It didn't work right away. In fact, it never started working. I gave it a good try. I got 3 to 5 days put together for 9 months in a row before I finally got my permanent sobriety date when I fully conceded to my innermost self that, if I was a real alcoholic, I needed to do what you guys did. And that included, I did get the book. I didn't read it. I got a sponsor I didn't call, and I got a home group I didn't attend, but that didn't work real well. So I did have a rough time getting sober. I wanted to do it my way. I thought a lot of this was outdated, and I thought that, AA needed to change to suit me. And now I realize after I got sober off of the book exactly the way that the book is written, after I had to, that was a ego crushing blow, that the book actually ended up working when I got with a recovered alcoholic and went through the book, that and I've never drank since, and it's been about 14 years. So today I realized that, I'm not here to change AA, but the AA was here to change me.
Yep. It's good to know that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a relief.
Yeah.
It's a load off.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Just
was a
checking
big job.
boxes. Just checking boxes won't help, won't get us sober or keep us sober. Now I could get down with a book though called As Carrie Sees It. I think that flows really good. So if you ever write it, I'll buy one.
I'm not going to write a book, but thank you.
All right. Thanks for the intro, Carrie. Shank, what's our topic today?
Our topic today is program versus fellowship. And I have a couple readings for both, couple definitions for both. A program, okay, is a plan or system under which action may be taken toward a goal, like a curriculum. Okay. And the reading that I have for program is from the book Alcoholics Anonymous, the fourth edition from 2001 at page 59. And it says, here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery.
That's
And
the
then
12 steps.
Yep, that would be the 12 steps. And
Yeah.
for fellowship, a company of equals or friends, like an association. And the reading I have for that one is from the book Alcoholics Anonymous, the fourth edition from 2001 at page 89. And it says to watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. So I'm very curious. I have a lot of questions about program versus fellowship. Do any of you have some comments starting out, or do you want me to start with some questions?
Oh, I have a ton of comments on that. This is a great topic. I mean, I I love it. These are two entirely different things. It's not like spiritual experience and spiritual awakening are can be confusing. People use them interchangeably. I don't use fellowship versus program interchangeably at all. They're two entirely separate sides of the triangle. So, the unity of our fellowship is, and there's only one requirement for membership in our fellowship, which is a desire to stop drinking. But if you look in the program, in the first 164 pages, the program of recovery, there is a lot of requirements. That word shows up a lot. And
It does.
I hear people sometimes do use them interchangeably. It is a pet peeve of mine, I'll admit that. I don't have as many pet peeves as I maybe one time did, but this is definitely still one of mine when somebody says, "Oh yeah, I came to the program in, this year 5 years ago, but it didn't work, and so I came back to the program 2 years ago." And it's like, wait, what? You can't come to a program. Like, you mean you came to the fellowship? Like, that that works. That makes sense. I know that I came to the fellowship long before I came to the program. Like I said in my introduction, I didn't know that there was a difference. And so when I came in, I was doing a lot of the fellowship. I mean, I was going to every dance, even though I don't dance, every camp out, even though I don't camp, every potluck, although I do like to eat. But I didn't know, I didn't know that that wasn't the program. I thought the program was what you guys were discussing, like what you said in the beginning, 90 meetings in 90 days. I did that, and I'm like, okay, so that's the program, right? And I just kept getting drunk. So I'm glad to know that the fellowship, is beautiful and as wonderful as it is, and I love what you read, Shank, from the 12-step promises, where it says, the fellowship will grow up a bit. Watching others recover and then watching them help others, that is the bright spot of my life today. No joke. And so I don't like to put the fellowship down at all. But I do believe there's the difference between the fellowship of the Spirit and the spirit of the fellowship.
Mm-hmm. Shank, you got any questions for us? Well, hold on. How many times do you know? I'm just curious. How many times the word program is in the big book versus the word fellowship? I'm just curious.
Okay, the word program in the big book is 28 times.
Okay. Fellowship, 128.
Fellowship is in the big book 32 times.
32. Okay. All right.
So, in you all's experience, have you ever felt that the fellowship was enough to sustain your sobriety?
Well, for me, I don't think it would have been. Now, I'm a guy that when I got sober, I mean, I've been sober since coming to Alcoholics Anonymous the first time. And I mean, I've said this before. I'm grateful that I don't know, I guess that I came into the group that I came into and with some of the people that I came in with or was found when I got here because I never knew there was a difference. So I mean, I immediately was kind of just pulled into a group. I was pulled into the book and the steps and was kind of, all hindsight was kind of told that, hey, you got to do all these things in order to recover. And so my own personal experience is that I was in the fellowship and working the program at the same time. And now, with that being said, I have seen at this point, I used to say hundreds, but it's literally thousands of people. I've worked with probably hundreds that try to stay sober just on fellowship, meaning they just want to come to meetings or hang out a little bit. And I've rarely seen anybody be able to I've never seen a real alcoholic stay sober just on fellowship. They eventually drink or disappear. The sad thing about that is that the people associated with them or the folks that sent them here or even their family, they think those folks have tried Alcoholics Anonymous and it didn't work, but they never tried AA. They just came to meetings and they were unable to stay sober. And it's one of the things that concerns me is that the perception from the outside is that AA doesn't work. Well, that person never tried AA. They just went to meetings. So for me, I don't think I could stay sober just on the fellowship. And I've seen other people not be able to. Yeah. I think there are, I'm gonna get off track, but maybe it's not off track. I think there are people that maybe aren't alcoholic that are lonely or they maybe have some mental health issues or they just had a run of bad luck and they come to AA and we're so welcoming, right? And they come to AA and people like them and we ask them to do stuff and they kind of get involved a little bit with fellowship and with activity before and after meetings. And they like that and they hang out. And Pritch used to say that was what watered down AA was people like that coming into Alcoholics Anonymous and hanging out. But anyway, I guess there are people that thrive on fellowship, but I don't think they're alcoholic. Just a personal opinion.
Well, and that sounds all well and good. I mean, if, like it sounds like they should be welcome, and that's a good thing that we're welcoming to everyone. And I challenge you to keep going with that story, I guess. And it's like, well, what does it hurt when they come in and they hang out and, we're a social club to them? It's not hurting anybody, right? Well, the problem with that is when the real alcoholic sees
That's right.
them staying sober, doing what they're doing. It says if you want what we have, do what we do. Well, like that's not going to work for the real alcoholic, and that's where the problem lies. Is yeah, I guess we've become too welcoming. I think that our traditions are clear. We are all inclusive to all alcoholics, and
Yep.
and we're not a social club, or we shouldn't be. But
No, we shouldn't. And you're right, it does. I mean, it ultimately hurts people. It also sometimes makes it difficult to sponsor people because you're giving direction to somebody to do something. And they're saying, well, little Jimmy's not doing that, or look at all those folks over at the clubhouse not doing it. And it can create some conflict sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah,
But no, I don't think it's done anything to help AA, that being overly social and overly welcoming to the non-alcoholic. Yeah.
I think that my questions probably come from the fact that when I got sober, I was sober in Alcoholics Anonymous for 2 months. I was sober in total for 3 months before I went to prison. And I really thought that I had missed out on a chunk of Alcoholics Anonymous. because I wasn't reading the big book line by line with my sponsor before the meeting, and I wasn't going to coffee, and I wasn't going to dinner, and I wasn't going to 90 and 90. And, sometimes there were people who would talk about those things in the meetings in the prison. And I'm just like, okay, well, when I get out of here, I'm really going to do, like the fellowship, the program. Um, and, I don't know that I thought about it directly like that, but I did feel like I had missed out. And what I know today is that I do a lot in Alcoholics Anonymous, but I'm very clear on Alcoholics Anonymous as a book, and it's 12 steps. And I have some sponsees. I think I've realized through some sponsees that I've been trying to help. I have one right now that just is like, where's the home group, you know, group chat list? I want to be invited to everything. And I'm just like, that's just those are friends that hang out. And, we're at the meetings a lot together. We help people a lot together. We've all worked the steps. We try to help as many people together as we can. We have a lot of commitments and a lot of institutions and treatment facilities. And we've gotten to be friends. And yeah, we hang out, but that is not AA. Like, that's friends hanging out, having a good time.
I like to put it that, when I was new, I was doing so much, I was going to so many meetings that I didn't have time for AA. And today, and I'll
That's
turn
right.
myself in. Today I probably do so much AA that I don't have enough time for meetings, and that's not a good thing either.
Mhm.
I mean, I attend my home group religiously. We meet Monday through Thursday. So it's 4 days a week. And so I'm there 4 days a week. So that's plenty of meetings for this alcoholic. But yeah, I rarely have time for meetings now that I'm doing so much of what you were just talking about,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Shank, with the, institutions and the committee meetings and the area assemblies and AA. Now I do so much AA that I don't have as much time for the meetings.
Yep. What else you got, Shank?
Can you share an example of how the 12 steps have impacted your sobriety in ways that the fellowship alone have not?
My spiritual growth.
Mm,
Um, the the I think the steps allow me to participate in the fellowship better, to show up in the fellowship better. I know that when I first got sober and I was just in the fellowship and not in the program, oh, let's just put it this way. Um, I created more wreckage my first year sober in the fellowship than I did my last year drunk,
mhm.
in my outside life. And so the steps allow me to recover. They allow me to get along with the rest of the world inside of AA and outside.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I couldn't have formed a relationship with God without the steps. I mean, just fellowship alone. I mean, I might form some relationships with people, but the book tells me I'm beyond human power, and so I gotta find a power greater than myself. So I think that's steps are designed to do is to help us find the power. Not to mention that the first 9 steps, turning my life over to God and taking my own inventory and doing a confession, and I guess confession is not the good word nowadays. Doing the 5th step and making those amends, right? I mean, that's what removes the obsession to drink, and by doing that, I was able to repair damage done in the past. I was able to build a foundation of where I could actually get better and move on with my life. And you can't do that just by hanging out at the dance after the meeting, or going to dinner before the meeting. And I mean, all stuff that's good. I mean, I do all that stuff, but that's just, I'm able to do that because I've recovered
Mhm.
and because I've taken those steps. So
Well, and I think too, for me, like, if there is someone that needs help, I will forego all of those other extra activities. Like, I'll forego going to dinner, going to coffee, going to the dance. If there's someone that needs help, I can take them through all 12 steps in a few hours. So to me, my experience is, yes, there was a fellowship that I built around myself while I was incarcerated and after, but I didn't need anything special. I wasn't missing out on anything. And the fellowship was there for me. Many people wrote to me while I was incarcerated. They came to visit me. You know, it was great, but I can forego a lot of that fellowship and still stay sober and help others when the time is right, when God calls me to do that. So I think it's just confusing to me sometimes when I see people that think Alcoholics Anonymous is just showing up to a meeting. And maybe it's because like that's never been my experience, and I don't believe it would be possible for me to stay sober just hanging around AA. I can assure you, if I was not a real alcoholic, I would not be hanging out in AA. I would not be wasting my time personally. I could probably find many other things to be involved with.
Yep.
Okay. So
What else you got?
do you all believe that the program and fellowship complement each other in supporting long-term recovery from alcoholism?
I do.
Of course. Yes. That, I mean, I guess that's, if you think about it, it's being involved in like all aspects of Alcoholics Anonymous, being involved in all three areas of the triangle. I mean, it's just a recipe for. I mean, I know it's not a word we use in A lot, but of success. Not meaning that everything's going to go my way and life is going to be perfect, but it's a foundation of a relationship with God. It's a foundation of a relationship with other people. It's a support system that works in rough going for everything. So I mean, again, not having just you know done fellowship only or just program only. I mean, I've been involved in both at the same time. It's been done nothing but benefit me, especially as I stayed sober and things happen in life, like wife leaving, losing a job, people dying, or getting a promotion, and having good things happen. Being able to have people in the fellowship that I talk to about that support me and that know what's going on. I mean, it's been very, very helpful. It gives you a lot of confidence and hope too in your own life, being connected to people. And then on the other side, helping people that are going through hard times or celebrating people that have had successes in life. I mean, it's awesome. So I think we need both if we're gonna recover and be free. You need
Sure.
both. Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Either of you?
I've known some exceptions. I mean, one in particular comes to mind. I could never do it, and I'll tell you why I could never do it. I think it's selfish, and self is the root of my troubles. But there was this one guy, he died, right before the pandemic. So he's been gone for about 5 years, but he had over 40 years of sobriety, and he hadn't been to a AA meeting in over 20 years. He was where we took the rough cases to, right? Because he never got off the program. He worked the program. He would say, watered down AA is like a watered down drink. It don't do shit for the real alcoholic. And he didn't, appreciate what he was hearing in meetings, and he said it was making him less effective and whatnot. So he actually hadn't gone to a meeting in decades, but he still worked with wet drunks. He still went into treatment centers and had sponsees, and he even had a little lineage that came over to say goodbye when it was his time to pass. But I don't know that that is the norm, and I also don't know if that's helping to perpetuate the problem if the old timers that really know the message are gonna deprive us of that,
Yeah.
right? Like we need them in the meetings to make the meetings what they think that they should be, what God would have us be.
Yeah, I find that interesting. I think the longer I stay sober, I realize that where I got sober and the people around where I've been sober this whole time, I think I'm just really spoiled because the majority of all the old timers, that I know have always been really involved in Alcoholics Anonymous, and they've always shown up to meetings, even when, I had a home group and one of the guys who had been sober, I don't know if he was the longest, there was a debate, but he'd been sober a dang long time.
He's not the
And
longest.
everyone was, respected him, but he was not a bleeding deacon. And like that's how I learned, I had so much respect for him because he would sit in a business meeting, he would say his piece, and if something else happened, it was just business as usual. He treated me as good as anyone else. And when I, would ask him questions about Alcoholics Anonymous, he would tell me his experience. He would listen to mine. Now he may tell me, like, well, what you're suggesting has been tried before, but he would never say, don't make the suggestion again.
Yeah.
He would also say things like when I cut my hair really short, he did tell me he did not like that. But he was allowed to have an opinion on that too. And we would just laugh about it. And so there are so many old timers in and around my area that, listen, they will pull me aside and say, hey, I'm concerned. I've heard you saying some stuff. But those people respect me enough and I respect them enough that they will sit down with me, have a conversation, and then I see them the next week in a meeting or at, a conference somewhere. And it's rarely like this resentment. I've just always, I believe, been treated mostly as an equal, and even though nothing may change, they're still going to have their opinion. I may still have mine. Um, I don't think that I could be the AA member that I am, the woman that I am, without those old timers who do still really participate. So the people that I know that are crotchety and like just sit and complain about everything, it's like they don't have God, it would seem to me. Now, who am I to judge that? But I do know some old timers who say, I haven't read the book in 20 years, or I don't sponsor new people. I only sponsor people with 20 plus years, or whatever it may be. And they just don't seem very happy, joyous, and free, in my opinion.
Yeah. Hmm. I do know, after Carrie was mentioning that guy, I do know a lot of people that have kind of, I wouldn't say gone underground, but they don't participate in kind of fellowship stuff and meetings, but they still do help folks and hold little book studies at their house for, I don't know, who goes to them, but I guess there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
It would seem to be, to me personally, it was a little bit of a waste of my recovery if I'm not like out publicly trying to share it with people and help people. Shank, did you grow your hair out after he told you he didn't like it short?
I did. I think I
Yes.
kept it short for a while, but
It-
I definitely grew it out. Okay,
yeah.
like.
Yeah. Well, we're fortunate to have people, old timers and folks around that are willing to help us. I am curious though. So here's a question for you. When the book was written, did the term fellowship back then mean what it means today? So I mean, so today when we think of fellowship, I think we immediately think of like just going to a meeting and kind of activity before and after a meeting. At least I think that's what most people consider fellowship.
Mhm.
It seems like when you read the book, though, that it may have had a little deeper meaning then than it does now. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems to me it was more of like you were part of the fellowship and the program was embodied in the fellowship. Now I could be stretching on that, but have y'all ever thought about that?
I mean, I hear a difference in the book, what the fellowship and the program mean to me is exactly what was written in the book. I'm a big book literalist. But I do hear a little bit of a difference between, like I mentioned before, the fellowship of the Spirit, which I don't
Right.
feel like I was a part of until I went through the steps,
Mm-hmm.
and the spirit of the fellowship, which is the laughing and the joyousness
I got
and
it.
walking into a room and yeah.
Okay. Well, we're part of the fellowship of the Spirit.
That's right. In the forwards to the third edition and fourth edition, it does mention a few times the word fellowship. And in the forward to the fourth edition, it says, while our literature has preserved the integrity of the AA message, sweeping changes in society as a whole are reflected in new customs and practices within the fellowship.
Well, there you have it.
So, I mean,
Yep.
that's still going on today.
Yep.
And
It
then in the
sure
forward to
is.
the third edition, it says, in spite of the great increase in the size and the span of this fellowship, at its core it remains simple and personal.
So that was the third edition.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was the fourth edition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in the
So
third
the one in the
edition,
fourth edition, go ahead.
go ahead, Carrie.
The one in the fourth edition, I think, separates the two very well. I think that the one in the fourth edition says that the program is in the literature. The literature preserves the AA message. The literature is the only thing that preserves the message. And then it separates that and it says, however, the fellowship, because we're just a bunch of people and the meetings change and we have pandemics and go on Zoom and all of this other stuff. I think that it's talking about the customs and the practices and how some groups chant and other groups, give out coins and other groups, all that stuff. But I don't think that it's talking about the program when it talks about the changes in the fellowship.
Right. Okay.
Well, I hope to never know, because for me, I think it has just always been that I'm all in all the time. Like, I was never just given an option to just show up to a group, work the steps, and then not do anything else. So and thank God for that. I needed to be busy. I needed things to do. And I needed to be around other people who were working the steps, who were having spiritual experiences. I needed that. So I don't plan to find out what it means just to show up to the fellowship personally.
Me too.
No. Let's hope none of us do.
Mm-hmm.
Well put.
Shank, you want to move on to meeting shrapnel?
All right. Meeting shrapnel.
Let's see what we got.
Our first meeting shrapnel is, which is our segment of lore, myth, and sayings frequently heard in AA, if you're just tuning in for the first time. Our first one, I think, is one of Wayne's here absolute favorites. I go to meetings to see what happens to people who don't go to meetings.
It's terrible.
That's awful.
Terrible. That's the worst reason to go to meetings. I can't think of a worse reason to go to meetings.
It's so dumb.
Oh, I think like I can understand, but not really, because I'm like, okay, so you go to meetings so that you see people relapse and come back, and then they come back and they say, well, I didn't go to meetings, and so that's why you go there to what?
I think that's what it's saying. I'll guarantee you can go to a meeting tonight over at the clubhouse down the street, and you'll hear somebody say it or say something similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's so.
What I ponder about that is, I don't know. So you go to meetings to see what happens to some people who stop going to meetings, I suppose. But the ones that are doing well, do they come back and tell you? I mean, I just don't. I just don't know if they're going to be the ones in the meeting.
They might if you
Good
give
question.
out trinkets and tokens. They might come back once a year just to pick up one of those to let you know that AA works.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then you'll see them next year.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a couple
yeah.
of those.
Yes. Well, we need to rewrite this when I go to meetings to find people to help.
Mhm.
There you go.
Right?
I go to meetings to give away what was so freely given to me.
There you go.
Yes, that's
There
the
it
one.
is.
So do y'all want to keep it or you want to scrap it?
Oh, scrap that for sure.
I'm scrapping it. Shane?
Okay, it's out of here. I'm scrapping it. All right, our second meeting shrapnel is a simple program for complicated people.
Sure. Why not?
You like this one, Carrie?
I don't mind it. It's not one of my top 20 pet peeves. Not that I have any. It's not something that I've ever said, and it's not something that I probably ever will say. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's
I don't-
wrong.
No.
No.
I don't.
It's probably a true statement.
It's one of those ones where, like, I can remember or picture myself being newly sober and hearing somebody say it, and like, man, that's wisdom there.
Yeah, blew my mind.
That guy is smart. Simple program for complicated people.
I may have used this last week when I was at a meeting and someone was like, this is so simple. Like, oh my gosh, I've done other programs and other stuff. And like, wow, this is so simple. I might go back this week and tell her.
And say this to her.
Yeah, I might.
Simple program for complicated people. Well, that reading you read a minute ago did say it was simple and personal, right?
It did, yes.
Did it say anything about people being complicated?
Negative.
All right. What are y'all going to do on this one?
I'll keep it.
I'm going to scrap it.
I'm scrapping it. It's out of here.
Okay, there you go. It's out of here.
Oh,
Okay, our third
What's the next
meeting
one?
at Shrapnel, I actually heard at my home group just a few days ago. So this is hot off the press, Carrie. You can't think of someone else and yourself at the same time.
Scrap it.
that's a super scrap.
That sounds like a super scrap, and Carrie has been a guest before, so she has the ability to super scrap.
Oh my goodness.
And those are the
Don't-
rules.
No comment on it, huh? Just scrap it.
My comment would be, this is definitely not a selfish program. It's a selfless program, a less of self program. But I can't help but notice the benefits when I'm helping someone else in what I get for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. This is an interesting one to me because I don't think it's true. They've never lived in my mind. I can think of 3 or 4 things at the same time.
You can always think
That's-
of yourself, even if you're
Yes,
thinking of someone else.
yes. Always.
Oh.
I can always do that.
Mhm.
So it's another one of them treatment center sayings I would think. But I would it's not anything I would say.
Mhm.
It ties into that one, you can't have 2 thoughts at the same time, or
Uh-huh.
that's nonsense.
Turn your
Or
thoughts
fear
to.
and faith
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a good one. Yeah.
can't
It's not,
exist at the same time.
Yep.
yeah, it sounds good, but I don't think it's true.
No.
No. Shank, what do you think about this one?
I don't
When that guy said it at your home group, you didn't like, oh, wow.
know. But you know what? He was talking about when he was new, hearing it and it blowing his mind. And I could see like being
Yeah.
new, that being something like, oh my gosh, yes. Like I've been told 100 times I'm so selfish. So maybe this makes sense. But I don't know that I'm sure I had heard it before. I hadn't heard it in a long time when he said it. I don't like it. Turn your thoughts to someone you can help.
Yep,
That's what I would think.
yep. That's a way better strategy.
Mm-hmm.
and way better statement to tell someone.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's out of here. Carrie super scrapped it.
it's already gone, huh?
It's gone.
All right, Carrie.
This is done.
Never say it again. If you're out there using this one, don't use it. We're gonna come get you. Oh man, Carrie, we appreciate you coming and joining with us. Yep, it's always good
Thanks
to hear
for having me.
Yep, always good to hear your experience. I want to close with a reading here from page 17 in the book. I
Okay.
think it kind of gets at what we're talking about. It says the feeling of having shared in a common peril is one element in the powerful cement which binds us. But that in itself would never have held us together as we are now joined.
Mhm.
The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism. So
Great choice.
that common solution is the 12 steps. And if you take those 12 steps, you can be free.
Freedom.
Thanks for listening. If you have a comment, suggestion, or just need help, you can email Shank and Wayne at freedom@alcoholicsalive.com. Remember, we're recovered members of Alcoholics Anonymous, but we do not speak for Alcoholics Anonymous, nor do we get paid. Join us next week for another great episode.